But yeah, we got all the homies here.
Homies and the gnomies?
I'm going to write a letter to Jon Favreau to get the gnomes included into these specific gnomes.
Those specific gnomes.
You know, like they had the coffee cup in the background of one of the... Do you watch Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
You know, the coffee cup?
Yeah.
I want one of my gnomes on the table.
So are we rolling?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hell yeah. So... First, I want to say thank you again for coming on, because I appreciate people taking time out of their day to, do the shit. And
no, absolutely.
I mean, all the money and the publicity you're gonna get from this podcast, I can't blame you.
Hey, no, I mean, we've been friends. We've known each other for a very long time. I love talking. I love talking to you about the things we'll be talking about. So it's a great pleasure, and thank you for thinking of me.
Yeah, and I didn't really realize like what you were kind of into, because I remember in elementary school, for everyone's reference, we've known each other for a very long time, since like 2001, 2002.
Well, yeah, I mean that was something I did want to mention is I tease you about this all the time, but I remember meeting Yak like the first day.
The hat.
Yak, he was wearing his Sully from Monsters Inc. hat.
Yeah.
Came on bus 4. And I was like, oh, we got a new kid in first grade, and
yeah, yeah, man, that was kind of rough coming, because like I didn't know anybody. I was moving from Orange, and then like getting teased for my hat.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, man, that's crazy. It feels like another lifetime almost. You know what I mean? It's so long ago.
20 plus years. It's crazy.
Yeah, and like it's funny to know, because like I remember is that you liked wrestling a lot. I remember that from when we were younger. But, you never know, like, all their interests. So, like, come to find out, you fucking know MF Doom.
Yeah.
You know Thrice. And, and we're talking about Star Wars. And, man, like we were talking about before, you wrote a really good Star Wars script, a Mandalorian script. So, yeah. I'm envious. You've done 2 things that I want to do now, is write a script and move to California. So fuck you. First of all, thank you. Second of all, fuck you.
No, that's means a lot, and I'm I don't know how to attack that first. I think obviously we're gonna talk a little bit about screenwriting, script writing, and the like. And you mentioned you remember me for liking wrestling. I grew up my whole life. I loved consuming any form of story.
Yeah, wrestling, that's the biggest thing. Narrative, man.
No, absolutely. So, when I was really little, I read a lot of books, watched a lot of movies. My parents used to tell me, like, they would just plop me down in front of The Wizard of Oz, like, when I was 3. And, like,
Same.
they could not...
Yo.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dude,
Thank you.
Wizard of Oz, absolute classic.
My dad was born in 1946, and my mom was born in the 50s, so Wizard of Oz. Cats. I saw a lot of cats.
A lot of cats. That's fun. But yeah, so I just always loved story, and, different points in my life, it was different things. And, when I got to college and, the studying film became an option, and, realizing that, and obviously someone must come up with these stories, but realizing that I could do screenwriting and I wasn't bad at it, it just became a perfect avenue for me to live in, like, writing stories and experiencing stories and have, like, an outlet for how much I love stories.
So you said in college, like, was that right when you entered college, or like maybe like halfway through? When was that?
It was actually closer to the end. So I started college. I like to think I was kind of always in denial of what I really wanted to do. For a long time, I was all about, like, being a doctor, being a lawyer, something like that. I actually started college, like, on the pre-med track, like, thinking about going to medical school. Spent a whole year doing that, and, turns out not really the path for me. Wasn't, happy with how I was doing, how, what the prospects would be, how long it would take me to make money, and that just kind of being my life for the future. Then started, like, studying things on the track of being a lawyer. Met enough people who told me either they regretted being a lawyer or they wouldn't recommend anyone being a lawyer. And I was kind of off on this track of not really knowing what I wanted to do. And my friend was studying TV and, told me about his experiences and some of the great professors and mentors he had. And just, got me thinking like, hey, I do have the space in my schedule for like the last year and a half of my college experience, second semester junior year onward, that I could make it happen. And I did a film minor, studied screenwriting for 2 semesters under a pair of really great professors. And unfortunately, I didn't really have the time in college to like get an internship or get experience in the field. It was just me just studying it academically. But it was great, and it kind of lit a fire under me that this was something I wanted to pursue.
Dude, it's crazy what you just said, because like, okay, let me bring you into my world. Started freshman year at Southern, going to be a psychologist because my dad is one. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just was like, okay, I'm going to be a psychologist, I guess. That seems like a good job. He makes good money. And then my freshman year roommate was an artist, and he just kind of put me on this crazy path where now that's what I've been pursuing for a long time, because I realized like I don't know, I'm not equipped. I don't want to be a psychologist. I didn't want to be like that. I just want to be able to make art. And so like in a weird way, like you just talked about your friend, and like I had a very similar experience to you. It's kind of crazy how like meeting one person kind of changes a big life path,
Oh, you're absolutely right. I think I don't want to get on a different track, but I do have...
Fuck it. To go anywhere.
No, yeah.
You want to talk about fucking inhaling paint while skydiving? Go for it. This is an Anywhere It Goes podcast.
Yeah, well, no, fair enough. But, I have my thoughts about the values and the value and merit of like college education, but, it's the wonders that you can experience meeting different people. You grow up in... We were fortunate. We were more fortunate than most people where we grew up in a situation where every few years, like, new groups of people were added to the mix. Like, we had 6-7 years of elementary school.
Hey, I just moved here from Japan.
Yeah, and then, we go to middle school. Here's all the Woodbridge kids, which was a neighboring town. And then, another couple years go by, we get to high school, a whole Orange, group of kids from Orange, another neighboring town, the third neighboring town, which is like the size of us and Woodbridge to begin with.
Yeah, exactly.
Bethany, we just always had a ton of people to stimulate, but, still just going off somewhere new, getting people from different areas, different, like, backgrounds.
Yeah, and like people moving here and moving away and stuff, like... It's crazy because I think about like people I remember in first grade there's a guy named Devin. I'm like, I wonder where he is these days. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't remember him anywhere. I think he moved past first grade.
Yeah.
People who like I went to Mary L. Tracy in Orange.
Yeah.
So I knew some of the Orange kids, and then I moved to Bethany like more than halfway through kindergarten.
Yeah.
And so it's people move around too.
No, it is, we were definitely in an area of the country, just in the Northeast, where there's kind of a lot of movement like that. And even, we're certainly maybe not Bethany so much, but, certainly like Woodbridge, this is the suburbs of New Haven where all like Yale professors raise their kids. So, you've got a lot
Bethany too. Yeah. I know quite a few people who work at Yale that live in Bethany, and like, my dad was an employee at Yale for a while, so.
Well, yeah, and
that's the reason I live here.
Yeah,
he lived in upstate New York, and then he started working at Yale, and then he decided to start working at Southern. Mm-hmm. So like it's just how life goes, No,
absolutely. So you get a pretty constant stream of new and interesting people showing up, all throughout our lives, and
it's definitely different from living in fucking Arkansas, and the same 4 people the whole life. You're like, all right, who am I gonna marry? Is it her or her? Is it, which one is
it? A little faux pas, yeah. No, I mean not to speak ill of Arkansas by any stretch of the imagination, but you got a point there.
We all have love for Arkansas. It's just like if you live like in somewhere where it's like you have a small, like we talk about Bethany being a small town, but like we're surrounded. Imagine being in a small town with nothing around you.
No, yeah, it's I was fortunate to when I was living in Los Angeles for the past few years. came back, drove across the country, so I got to pass through some very small towns, which definitely contextualized the fact.
Let's add 3 to the envious list.
Yeah.
I do want to go on a road trip one day across the country.
It was a lot of fun. I took a week to do it. I'd recommend taking more.
Yes,
you know, there's always, and doing it during a time of year that isn't colder and
that's kind of
less things going on. But yeah, I think because I definitely would have preferred going through like during baseball season when I could see games, but I still got to see the stadiums, which is cool. And you know, we had enough fun. But yeah.
But yeah, no. So like I started talking about, you know, just I had that experience of like meeting my friend who put me onto a career of wanting to do art, and you had the same kind of experience where like you got put onto script writing. You know, what was like. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase what I want to say, but like, what was the reason? Like, you said you went to be a doctor, right? And you know, where did that shift occur? Where you're like, why am I doing this? You know, 'cause I know where it happened for me.
I'm not sure there was a real specific moment because, you know, like I said, I had gone through a number of phases of, you know, wanting to do certain things. But I think how I want to respond to that question is, you know, I started to realize, like I said, I've always been into story and drama and narrative. And I started to realize slowly in college that I was kind of into these certain things for the drama of it. And, you know, life isn't always going to be like that. You know, I'm not, there's certain ways of being a lawyer where you can always be like in a courtroom and getting that sort of high of like, you know, being dramatic and, you know.
You're more into the idea of being a lawyer by the kind of like that, the narrative like, almost.
Well, yeah. So, you know, I being someone that grew up consuming so much media, it was like I didn't really want to be a doctor. I wanted to be
House.
Yeah, I wanted exactly.
That's crazy because in my head when you said that I was like, oh, he just was like wants a good career where you make a good amount of money, but like that's a really deep, profound way of looking at it.
So, you know, I came and it's like, here's another thing that's somewhat similar to you. One of my favorite TV shows of all time is Frasier. And, you know, he's a radio psychologist. And I love that show. And for a long time, I was like...
Sorry, I'm just paying attention.
Yeah,
just checking the battery.
No worries. For a long time, I was like, you know, maybe I might want to pivot again and go into psychology. And then it kind of dawned, this was kind of the, you know, again, the pivotal moment. Like, no, I don't really want to be a psychologist. I just really like this TV show.
Yeah.
And, you know, I want to be able to...
The story of it is,
do sort of this, which is like, you know, writing entertaining TV.
Yeah. And, I mean, I can totally attest to... You know, I didn't know for a while if I wanted to like draw things, and because I wasn't very good at it. I loved drawing throughout my entire life, and I took, you know, when we took electives in high school, I did art classes for all of them, and then I was just like, do I like this enough? I kept questioning that, and the thing that really like brought me joy out of it was the idea of like I have this thing where like shit's buzzing through my head, and I'm like, oh. Even if something small, like a character from a TV show I want to draw them wearing, like, this hoodie. And I like the act of having that idea and bringing it to reality. And, like, I feel like I don't even want to ask you it because it feels like it just from reading your script. Like, you're like, he hit the power converter and kicked his feet up on the table. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, you're picturing a lot of shit when you're writing this script. You know, you're like as Kanye said, we are all gods. Yeah. You know, you're in the sense that you're creating shit, and I don't know. I'm speaking for you, but how do you feel about what I just said?
No, I mean I totally agree. I think my earliest memory of kind of that type of conceptualization is, you know, from an early age. Like I said, I read all the time, and I don't know if you remember the Magic Treehouse books.
Fuck yeah, dude!
But that was my shit.
Went to Pompeii.
Yeah. Oh my God. I could rattle off some of those book titles. It was it was the side discussion is that it was a big thing with like my late grandfather and I, but you know, it was just something I loved. And I remember, I think it was like in second grade, we were talking about the books because we had to like read one for class or something. And I was speaking about this like very vivid and like thought I had while reading, like of, you know, picturing it in my head. And, you know, a number of kids in my class were like, I did not have that same experience. And, you know, that was kind of the first time I was like, oh, okay, like I have a skill that, you know, maybe not everyone has, and maybe not everyone has so refined as just this vivid imagination.
Yeah, for sure.
And, you know, as like I said, I've kind of always been denying that this is really what I love and want to do. But once I finally came back around and could embrace it, you know, that I have always had that drive to create, and, you know, my mind's like, you know, for example, another thing, like I love comics. I've always been very, very passionate about like comics, comic book superheroes, comic book characters, DC, Marvel, Dark Horse, stuff like that. And, you know, and that was also sort of a big help for me because it taught me that you can tell infinite stories with these characters. So I love Batman, and, you know, we're these idiot
iterations.
Kids. Yeah,
just like different Batman. Like, I mean, spoilers, but Spider-Man, like iterations we're talking about.
No, absolutely. But, you know, we're like little idiot kids, and for, you know, a good part of our lives, we're like, you know, I was raised watching tapes of the 1966 Batman show, and for a long time I was like, "This is Batman."
Was your dad into that?
Yeah, no, okay. my dad and my uncle grew up watching it.
So they were putting you on. Gotcha.
Oh yeah, totally. My uncle taped 6 hours of Batman off of like TV Land and gave it to me for like my birthday, and I would just like, this was back, it was like literally a VHS.
Man, 1960. This is a campy one. Was that Adam West?
Adam West. Yep.
Yeah, fuck yeah, dude. Rest in peace.
No, for sure. Actually, quick story about that. I was cleaning out my closet, and I have saved 3 different newspapers announcing Adam West's death. Like,
really?
On the front page. So yeah, it means a lot to me. But yeah, so, you know, you grow up, you're watching that, and I remember it was like Christmas Eve when I was like 8, and I came home and my dad put the TV on, and there was the 1989 Michael Keaton Batman movie, and kind of blew my mind.
Oh yeah.
That I was like, oh, there's
those ones are great.
Other Batman.
Yeah, you're like, wait, there's a different. I mean, now we got fucking Edward from Twilight as Batman.
Literally,
that shit looks good.
No, dude, that looks fucking awesome. I'm pumped.
Yeah, I'm pumped for that. I feel like I don't have to ask, but the 90s Batman, you know, the really acclaimed one where Mark Hamill's the Joker.
Yeah.
That one, oh my god, that shit's crazy. I need to give more love to that because I've seen a little bit of it, but this is a problem. It's like, I'm like, oh, gotta watch this movie, gotta watch this, and I'm just like, I never know where to start, and I'm doing other shit, and yeah.
No, well, that's, I unfortunately, I think we were a little too, we were born a little too late to really enjoy. It was like 91. Yeah, 91, 92, it got its start. Yeah. But yeah, like, you know, that's, I mean, who doesn't love, and that, you know, the animated series Batman, and that gave rise to, you know, the
Heart of Ice.
Well, so this is something cool I can brag about a little bit. My aunt is a voice actress in the show.
What?
Yeah, and she's actually in Heart of Ice.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah, she's got a pretty minor part. She plays the reporter, Summer Gleason. But
doesn't matter. That's sick. I didn't know that.
Well, so the cool story is, I got, I think for my birthday, I want to say, like in high school, I got this DVD of this Batman animated movie. It was actually, it was a pretty cool one where they took a bunch of like anime artists and were like, okay, we're gonna ask you to make Batman shorts. And it was,
I saw the C4 one where they're in like a skate park at one point. I think there's like skate. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no,
Studio C14 or something. I know what you're talking about.
Oh, well, yeah, I don't have that vivid of a memory, but
it's like Star Wars Visions.
Yeah, literally the exact same concept. So wasn't actually a huge fan of the stories on the DVD, but the bonus features were episodes of the animated series. They just put them on there pretty much for no reason. So I had finished watching. It was just chilling in my house. Like, it was the summer. I had like, it must have been a weekend. So I was chilling, I was watching it, and then I was like, I'm going to throw these animated series episodes on. First one was Heart of Ice. And I start watching it, and, you know, halfway through, my dad, who was in his office, he comes, like, running around the corner, like, because my mom's in the kitchen or something. He's like, who's on the phone with Mari? And it was like, wait, what? What are you talking about? He's like, I just heard Mari's voice. Who, you know, did she call? Like, what's going on?
That's so bizarre.
And I was like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And Summer Gleason talks again, and he's like, oh, it's Mari. It's her voice. And I was in high school. I've loved Batman my whole life. They didn't. No one told me.
He never mentioned it.
No one mentioned it. It's wild. But I was so pissed.
I would be like, bro, why are you hiding? This is like one of those like teen movies where they find out like their dad. It's like fucking. It's like, yeah, just learning like, what is this family secret? much less cool, but was really exciting for me, and I've been fortunate to get to brag about it for ever since. But yeah, so that's my Batman the Animated Series story. Hell yeah, that's fucking wild. I'm glad I brought up Heart of Ice now.
Yeah, well, it's a
classic.
Very fortunate that not only she was in the show, but in the best episode.
Revenge is a dish best served cold.
Well, which brings up the which I almost thought you were talking about when you were mentioning 90s Batman, is the really awful
the one that came after it.
Well, the movies, the Val Kilmer, George Clooney ones, which I'm actually I'm on a campaign to prove that the Val Kilmer one is actually not bad. It's pretty good. But yeah, that's those movies are wild, and Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze was like, it's one of those things where, like, you can't believe it happened because of like how famous and successful he is with like everything else, but it's just so fun to revisit.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What were we talking about before this? This is the problem. I say this every podcast, but like my mind is like it's like tangential thinking. I'm just.
Well, I think we were talking about like, because I brought up Batman to just talk about how. Yeah. You know, it was kind of Batman that helped me discover, like, you could tell so many different stories with, you know, even just the same character. So you know, just think about how limitless the opportunity and the potential is for characters that haven't even been explored before, and that's what kind of got me really interested in storytelling and excited about.
Do you ever think about making a comic? Not drawing it, but finding a partner that can draw, because a lot of like manga in Japan, you have the person who writes it and the person that draws it.
Well, that's very similar with you know, Western American comics.
For sure.
And actually, you know, there's even more people involved in it. But yeah, I was actually, so I was really into drawing in high school myself, and even sort of kind of explored like being a comic artist. Not nearly good enough. But yeah, no, absolutely something I thought about. Writing comics is even harder than writing movies and TV, because in movies and TV, you kind of just, you write scenes, obviously. Yeah. But, you know, you don't have, you're actually expressly told, if you study screenwriting or, you know, even talk to a screenwriter about screenwriting, one of the main things they'll tell you is you are not supposed to direct. You know, if you are a writer-director, you know, if you're like George Lucas in the first Star Wars, yeah, like write.
I'm not sure I know what you mean. In what way are you talking about you can't direct?
So, okay, no, happy to explain this. So, you know, when you write a screenplay, you're pretty much writing a very economical novel. So you're just writing a story pretty much with as few words as possible.
Exactly. You're just trying to get the main beats. You're not like, there's a pot on the table that's made of mahogany. You're just like trying to get the main beats.
But so a lot of very creative people who don't know how to screenwrite very well, and really just want to come in as a screenwriter, you know, they think that you have to write like you're watching a movie, like extreme close-up on Yak's face.
Yeah, no, totally different.
You know, he says, you know, then all the description, and then, you know, we move to Scott, or we move to the window. Like, you're not supposed to do that at all. See, that's called directing on the page. You're just supposed to, say, Yak's here, Scott responds, there's a movement in the window.
Yeah, because, if you're directing a movie, you're not going to be able to get it. And, I've said I'm a big animation guy. The interesting difference between, making a movie and animating something is, you have complete control when you're animating something.
Yeah.
You fucking draw every frame, and it's very tedious, but you do have, a different level of control. Whereas if you're making a movie, it's a different kind of, setting where, we couldn't film on this type of day because of the lighting, and if you're writing every specific detail, so you want to have that up to interpretation so that when the director is taking it, they look at the screenplay and they go, okay, I'm going to keep to the main beats, but I'm going to put my own interpretation. So 100%. I totally get that. It's funny, man, because so I didn't realize how much you were into screenwriting, because when I was reading it, I was writing down notes. Yeah. I wrote a bunch of notes when I was reading your Mandalorian script, and one of the notes I wrote down was, why is this professional? And not to be a dick, I just don't, I've met many people that, write a script, and I'm like, okay, he's already got all the, you got the teaser, the acts, you got everything. Yeah. I'm like, holy shit, this is really good. Now I understand, because you've been studying it for quite a bit. So oh shit.
No, it's, and that's something we can get into, but, just to kind of finish the thought here. So, you, in movies, you have a writer you can have a person who does both, of course. But typically, in a lot of scenarios, you've got a writer who writes a script and a director who, which you articulated absolutely perfectly, reads the script and then puts his vision on it. That's the point of a director. That's the job, to have the vision.
Yeah, you can't hamper them.
No, absolutely. But in comics, sometimes there are different jobs, like a plotter and a scripter. But basically, the writer, if there's just one writer, which there usually is, you are director and writer. Oh. So you are literally writing, most of the time, not exclusively, you will write, this is what the first page is. This is what, this is how many, cells, blocks, frames there are on the page. This is sort of what it looks like. This is how it flows from,
Okay, no, I totally get what you meant now, that the person drawing is the one directing it. And, okay, yeah. And
yes.
The writer is the one just coming up with, basic shots and, like we talked about before. Gotcha. Yeah. Holy shit, I didn't... Yeah, now I totally understand.
Things can, I can talk about this for years, but...
I can talk about it for years, bro. The gnomes will wait.
The gnomes will wait. But, I mean, there's tons of different styles of writing, something a lot of people don't know. Marvel. So Marvel was really sort of... A lot of different people deserve to be mentioned, like a Steve Ditko or a John Romita. But really, the main two Marvel guys were Stan Lee and this guy named Jack Kirby, if you know who Jack Kirby is.
I know the name, yeah.
So what they call the Marvel way of writing comics is Stan would just come up with an idea.
Quick question. Did Jack Kirby go to Image?
No.
No. Okay.
Well, he might have in some capacity.
Because I know Todd McFarlane went over to Image. He was working... He, kind of made Spider-Man really big again.
Yeah. No, he definitely...
Sorry for...
No worries.
I was just curious. I want to pick your comic brain.
Yeah. No, Jack actually created Captain America, so he's really old. He died in the 90s.
Okay.
But so Stan would come up with an idea for a story, pretty, I wouldn't say vague, but pretty general. And then he would tell Jack, and Jack would draw everything.
Yeah.
The whole comic. And then he would give it back to Stan, and Stan would write the dialogue. So that's a unconventional way, because it puts pretty much the 100% of the onus on the artist to just come up with literally everything besides just the general story idea.
Yeah.
But now it's more sometimes you have a writer write a movie style script, and the artist has more of the control. It varies, but the bottom line is why I haven't really forayed too much into writing comics is I don't think I have the directorial vision necessary. Maybe it'll come to me. Maybe I'll take the a stab at it sometime. Just haven't done it so far.
Yeah, no. I mean, that's a very well put answer. I kind of want to put you on to a manga called One Piece, and I've probably talked about it before, but man, the creator, Shonen Jump, you have to put out comics every week. You know, it's a crazy lifestyle, and he does everything by himself.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't have someone writing it. He writes the whole thing, and it is about 1,000 chapters long right now.
That's insane.
One story.
Yeah.
Not like iterations of like, you know, like with Batman, you're taking like this many, and then all of a sudden it's a new Batman or it's a different Spider-Man. You got Miles or whatever. No, just one continuous story.
Yeah.
And it is one of the best written things I've ever fucking read. I think you would enjoy it a lot if you like script writing. I'll send you, because manga's in black and white, but they have digitally colored beautifully. I will send you the link to that.
Yeah, please.
Read a little bit. If you don't like it, obviously it's not for everybody, but if you do, I would totally, you know, he sets up, his level of foreshadowing is on a godly level. Like, he'll set things up 500 chapters in advance really well, that where you look at it, you're like, oh, you wouldn't think one thing of it. And then when you reread, I've read it maybe like 6 times now. Yeah. It's 1,000 chapters. I've read this manga 6 times.
Shit.
And he just sets up things so well. You're like, wait, what the fuck? How do you have this level of foresight? Yeah. And I don't know. There's no one like, his name's Oda. People call him Goda because he's God. He's the GOAT. And when you were talking about all that, I was like, I gotta put Scott on. He's gonna fucking love this.
Well, I've definitely heard of it. Not a huge manga connoisseur, but I'd love to check it out. It sounds awesome.
Hell yeah. I mean, there's some manga, you know, not all manga's for everybody, because like, especially if you're a comic guy, but there's some manga that definitely translates over. Like, I like comics and I like manga. Berserk is definitely one. Berserk's fucking crazy. I have the first volume right over there.
Shit.
Yeah, here, wait. Did I ever show you that?
I don't think so, no.
Berserk. It's published by Dark Horse.
No shit.
But the creator died this year, but yeah, fucking incredible. Look at the illustration in it. Berserk is also phenomenal.
Oh, this looks sick.
Yeah. Really well written. The illustrations are like paintings, man. Like, he puts so much detail. The further it goes on, the more detail he puts into things. And like, he started, like, his health took a toll because he would not sleep making this shit.
That's bonkers.
Yeah, and like, he passed away this year, and he was I think he was in his 50s.
Shit.
So,
well, I mean, he's left a hell of a legacy, but that's a shame.
Never finished the manga though.
Damn.
Yeah, it's left unfinished, and I was wondering if they're gonna finish it, but they decided not to. They're just like, no, we're just gonna leave it. It's like Samurai Jack, man, until they went back and finished it. But yeah, no, Berserk, incredible. There's GTO, that's another amazing manga. I'll put you onto some that I think you would like, because there's also that. You also have the super Japanese weird anime shit that I'm into. You're probably not gonna be into, but you know, we got range in here.
Yeah, range is good. That's cool. That's very cool.
Yeah, hell yeah. But no, I mean, it's fucking cool to learn about like how into all this stuff you are, because like, you know, you don't realize unless you're like hanging out all the time, and like, so just to be able to like pick your brain on this is really cool. Like it's funny because like one of the notes I wrote down was, why did you want to write a Mandalorian script? Mm-hmm. And now I already have my answer before we started the podcast. But like, do you want to just talk about like the whole Warner Brothers contest?
So, you know, kind of back up a little bit. So I screenwrite. I have a hard time calling myself a screenwriter because no one's ever paid me.
No,
at least
fuck
yet.
That. You're a screenwriter. If you write if you write a shitty script, you're a screenwriter, and you wrote a dope script, bro. Come on.
Thank you. But yeah, so I've been doing this since college, so 3 going on 4 years now, which is really scary to say out loud. But yeah, so about 4 years, and after I graduated, my first screenwriting professor in any good sort of first screenwriting classes was a super cool guy, and he was really just about like creating a comfortable environment to express yourself and write and have fun, and you know, pretty much everyone got a good grade if you tried and you wrote the pages he asked. And then when I decided I wanted to take the next step, the next professor was more of like, you know, if you are serious about being good at this, here's what you have to do to be successful. And I expressed to him that, you know, hey, this is something I enjoy, this is something I like doing, and he, you know, told me, whether he's right or he's wrong remains to be seen, that, you know, if I try. If I make a go at it, I could conceivably have a degree of success. And one of the things he said was, you should enter these contests. And there's a number of screenwriting contests that happen all the time. There's a lot of the contests are just send in whatever script you have done. Mostly that's like a feature type thing. So a feature-length movie, there's contests going all the time of
Quick
like just...
question.
Yeah.
Does it have to be of a series that exists, or can you just put in original scripts?
Well, so for feature-length, pretty much no one wants to see a script of something that already exists, because that gets into, license rights and a whole mess of problems that exist.
Why does that not happen with a TV show?
So with a TV show back in the day, 20, 30 years ago, the biggest thing, like if you wanted to be a screenwriter, especially on TV, all you had to do was, watch a lot of TV, write a script of an existing show, an original idea for an existing show, Cheers. Let's say Cheers, because I talked about Frasier. Cheers. So if you watch Cheers and you had a really good idea for a Cheers episode where, Sam starts a softball team or something in the bar.
Gotcha.
Whatever.
Yeah.
You write it. You'll send it in to the studio, to the office. They'd have, a box of this is something called a spec script, which is kind of a weird name for different reasons that I will go into later. But it was called a spec script. So you'd write it, you'd send it in.
This is just to kind of prove yourself.
Yeah.
If you want to get on the writing stuff.
No, absolutely. They'd read it and they were like, "Damn, this is great. Come on in."
Yeah.
And that was how you became a writer, one way. These days, they don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
You don't send in spec scripts. So with TV writing competitions, there's two types of competitions. One is original ideas. You write a pilot, and they will, it's a normal competition. You get judged, and if you win, you win. And you might win a cash prize. You might win time with agents. You might win, a seminar, whatever. Warner Brothers television studio, what they do is it's kind of like spec scripts of the old days, where they will post every spring. They'll post a list. They'll say, here are all the shows that we will be accepting spec scripts from. Write it, send it in by the end of May, and you, if you win, you are part of our seminar. So you don't have to be super creative. You just come up, use a show that you're comfortable with, kind of like back in the day. Send it in, you be part of the seminar. So for a few years now, I have, sometimes by myself, sometimes with one of my best friends from college, we do the Warner Brothers competition. I typically don't write a lot of TV. I usually write more movies, but the TV it's fun. It's short form.
Mandalorian's nice too, because you got the hour-long episodes versus a 20-minute episode.
Yeah, no, exactly. So you get much more flexible time frame and ability to do crazier shit. So last year, spring 2021, the Mandalorian show from Disney Plus was on the list of accepted shows. Again, we talked about, it's kind of crazy that's Warner Brothers with Disney IP, but neither here nor there. That's what they were willing to read. So, my buddy and I were talking, and we decided that we'd really like to write a Mandalorian script, because we're both big Star Wars nerds, and it was an ability that we could tell a story that we were passionate about in a show that we loved. And it was unfortunately, so a lot of contests will sort of move you on to quarterfinals and semifinals and finals. Warner Brothers just does finalists right off the bat, and so they pick 8 out of thousands of people, and unfortunately we did not get picked. But I think we wrote a pretty fun story, and you seem to have enjoyed it.
It was quite good. I was enjoying just reading through, and I like I said before, I really liked just how much attention to detail you had in the minimal amount you can put in, just small things, and I could just picture the tone. That's how a script is good, is when you can tell the tone of a character just from reading the dialogue. Yeah, you're imagining what the tone is. Sometimes I've read other scripts before from people that aren't formatted. Is it minute long? Is each page a minute? Page a minute. Yep. Not formatted to that, or and I'm just like trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. But like the entire time I was completely understood what was going on, and that's an achievement on its own. Like you don't write your first script and just have that. So I was very impressed.
Thank you. Yeah. I've written 2 full features. I'll say 4 incomplete features that are waiting to be completed.
They're in the works.
About 5 different spec scripts. I've actually never written an original TV idea, but got 5 different spec scripts I've used for contests or my own interest and practice. So, I think you kind of touched on it a little bit. Big thing about writing is, you are just constantly learning and improving all the time, whether it be just from writing and rewriting or reading other people's stuff, reading, successful movies and TV shows. I read drafts that I wrote 3 years ago and I don't even recognize the person that I was. And I was like, if I wrote this today, I'd throw it in the trash and, cry. But it is, it's such a tremendous, one of the things I like about writing is you can find success at 50 years old. And I'd like success before that because I'm effectively halfway there to 50, but
good Lord, way to remind me.
Yeah. It's not like an athletic career.
Yeah, where it's like, oh, we're like getting like athletic career, like we'd already be like kind of easing towards the door.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. But like, no, man, fucking Hayao Miyazaki, Studio Ghibli movies. Like man's in his fucking 80s and like he's working on a feature-length film right now. Yeah. It's like you can do this shit for life. I mean, it's funny, like my dad picked up tennis when he was in his 50s because like that it's a life sport. You could be old as shit and you're playing doubles. You don't have to run. You're just fucking swinging away, So, and not to compare writing to that, but because like obviously there's a lot of work being put in, but like in the same way as like you don't have to worry about like something giving out.
Yeah, no, I think it's. I mean, that's. I think it's an apt comparison. It's. I like that I'm not under a time constraint. I think. Yeah. I like to compare it to, like especially being a doctor. You can pretty easily become a lawyer at any point in time. It just takes 3 years of study. Mm-hmm. But being a doctor takes 4 years of study. Plus, more years of, doing your rounds, working, forget the term for it, but, being effectively a glorified medical intern, you've got a window in your 20s. Mm-hmm. And even, like, in your later 20s, I had a buddy who was 27 who was like, I'm going to do it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people were like, you're out of your fucking mind.
Really?
Because just the time commitment before you really start making money, it's just way too long.
Wow.
And I just, obviously it's a very noble profession and people go into it, have my undying respect, but, I like the idea of I'm pursuing something that could turn into a career that I can spend my whole life on. I can find success. I can turn it into a career in the next 3 years. I could turn it into a career in 10 to 15 years. And, I'm doing it all the time. I don't have to wait to do it.
Yeah.
I will get better at it. I might get worse at it. But, it's just, there's not a timeline.
That's the nice thing about writing scripts, too, is that, like, you can sit there, like, right now. I could sit down, pull me a piece of paper. I could just write it right now.
Yeah.
It's not going to be good, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not depending on other people to do this. You know? It's something... I found that, like, careers that you can... do on your own, I gravitate towards because I don't know, maybe I got trust issues, I don't know. But like I don't like depending on other people, even if it means like I have a lot of work on myself, I prefer that. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, I totally get that. I do really enjoy writing on my own. I think, it is, there's pros and cons for sure. Mm-hmm. But it is nice that I'm not reliant on anyone. When I've struggled having a writing partner. I know a lot of people recommend a writing partner because
Well, it takes some burden off the load, but then
Yeah.
you also have creative differences.
Yeah, you have creative differences.
Like I said before, like fucking creative differences with podcasts. Like I already split up from one podcast I was doing, and now I'm doing this one.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, we clearly want different shit. You know, it's crazy how most bands stay together. They don't. But sorry.
No, that's very true. You contend with creative differences, managing each other, especially in a sort of bohemian pursuit like writing where, people can be very artsy and you're like, actually, I need you to write this in a week. Yeah. I need you to write this in a week and I need you to do what we agreed on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I definitely get that. I think the ultimate challenge that I have yet to face, and, part of me does dread it, is, look, I'm only a writer. Maybe one day I'll direct. Maybe I'll be a producer. Remains to be seen. But I'm a writer.
You never know where life takes you.
No, absolutely. But, the next step is I will sell my idea to someone.
This is your foundation.
Yeah. And someone
else,
bro. Like we were talking about it, a director's going to look at it and he's going to make his creative choices. And I might be able to say, actually, I'd prefer if you did this.
Yeah.
Well, even before that, even before I sell, I'll have producers telling me, no, I need you to change this. I need you to change that. I need you to, there's the thing about writing, especially screenwriting, a little different from like a book writing where you do have an editor, and you do have people who need to purchase it. Like, screenwriting has to go through so many different people and their visions till it becomes a thing. Mm-hmm. And that is, while it is, an individual pursuit for the sort of the initial germination stage of the idea and the expression, it really becomes like a massive team effort. And again, I haven't gone through that, and I'm a little worried how I'll react to it because I am fiercely, loyal to my ideas. But it is. It's going to be an interesting balance to deal with.
I think the biggest thing is you kind of take a different approach than how you are right now. Obviously with something you would be working on now, if you're doing it on your own, you're not. If I walked in and said, "Fuck you, you got to fucking change this," then you'd be like, "No, this is mine. Why are you in my house?"
Yeah.
But like if you're on a team, I feel like your mindset kind of changes, like without even thinking about it, because now we're a team.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to pass the rock off.
I think that's I hope that's what happens.
You doubt me?
No, I don't. I do not doubt you. I hope that's how I'll be able to adapt. I'm thankful that I grew up playing team sports, so I'm kind of used to that, and I'm
not worried about you.
Well, that's
I
good.
think you got it,
appreciate
dude.
that. But I think that's actually a kind of an apt segue to talking about something that we did want to talk about, sort of the other side of the Mandalorian script, besides just my writing, is Star Wars.
Yes, Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Talking about the state of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Man, fuck Star Wars. No, I love Star Wars, but
hard not to love Star Wars no matter.
What are your thoughts specifically on the sequel trilogy? Don't be afraid if you like them.
No. I love talking about Star Wars in any capacity. I just want to make sure I frame the discussion correctly. So, I guess, to talk about the prequels, I'll just...
Not the prequels, the sequels.
No, the sequels.
The newest movie.
Yeah, well, just to talk about the sequels, I gotta sort of contextualize my discussion. So, grew up, wasn't allowed to watch really anything edgy, which is really funny because I was watching, like, Batman pretty young in my life with, like, all their fight scenes.
Yeah.
Wasn't really allowed to watch anything even remotely kind of edgy. Was the first child of helicopter parents. And so I didn't really watch any Star Wars till I think like late elementary school, like around 5th, 6th grade. I had seen a little bit of The Phantom Menace when I was at a friend's house, but...
They had a problem with Star Wars? I feel like Star Wars is pretty campy.
No, I mean, it is, but like my mom doesn't...
Gotcha.
She just sees the swords and the guns, and she's like, no.
Gotcha.
So the first relationship I had with Star Wars was the toys. And even though I couldn't watch the movies, I had a lot of the toys, and I, was obsessed with like any of the cool looking characters: Darth Maul, Boba Fett, like Stormtroopers, Darth Vader, Chewbacca. Had a bunch of the toys, And then, my first experience, thankfully, my first real experience besides a little bit of Phantom Menace was the original trilogy, watching it in order with a friend under the permission of my mother.
You saw the original before the prequels.
Yep, original.
See, I saw the prequels first just because that was coming out when we were kids.
Yeah.
And then I went back and saw the...
Would have naturally been what happened if I didn't have psychotic parents.
Damn.
So, and I'm glad that's how I approach it. Not to shame you for not,
No, you're not shaming me.
Definitely valid to, in the era we grew up. But saw the original trilogy first. Absolutely in love with it. It's amazing by any standard.
Yeah.
And then saw the prequels, which as a kid I was like, this is actually pretty sick. Especially like just Darth Maul and Phantom Menace is just the coolest shit in the world.
Yeah, Darth Maul is so fucking cool. Like,
and I loved Jedi and I loved lightsabers, so like all that was great. And
the Darth Maul fight at the end of the first film.
Oh
was
my god!
Oh, it's so
Duel
good.
of the Fates, like it's just the best thing in the world. John Williams is like a god.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so saw the prequel trilogy movies. Was fairly on board with them. Didn't hate them. As I had more refined taste when I got older, I was like, okay, these aren't that great. There's flaws, and
they're so lovable though.
Of course.
There's something so lovable about them.
I had developed my critiques, and I think the biggest thing, when early college, before the sequel trilogy came out, I had this sort of arrived at my thesis about Star Wars, which is, predominantly it's a really tremendous visual expression. It's a combination of a lot of the visual themes and motifs of other things we like cool shit like cowboys, samurai, fantasy shit like swords and sorcerers,
flying through space.
Yeah, like sci-fi
travel, like it just brings together so much. Everything, like it's like you just mashing like shit, like a 10-year-old boy would like.
And on top of that, it has this specific sort of like old, dirty, abused sort of visual look to it, where it's like, okay,
it's like Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah, it's like it's not good. It's like it's imperfect. It's not all shiny and new.
Man, I'm not trying to live on Tatooine.
Yeah. Well, so it's
too much sand.
And that's what really made Star Wars interesting. And I think one of the biggest flaws of the prequel trilogy was that it sort of eschewed it. It totally disregarded the visual kind of the visual themes,
identity of
the
it.
visual identity of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Partially because George was so obsessed with CGI and like what can you do with CGI?
There's so much happening.
Yeah.
So much in every shot.
Yeah.
Man, quick tangent, but have you seen like George Lucas years, like 15 years down the line, editing rocks in? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
I can't understand that.
He's a very strange, unknowable man. But he did gift us Star Wars, so you can't hate him too much. But just the things he did in like the special edition of the original trilogy, like there's a scene on Mos Eisley where we just get like a dewback butt.
Yeah.
Like why? Why? Why?
No one asked for this, George.
Yeah. Or like it's just ridiculous.
Well, also, sorry, we'll get back to what we were just saying, but have you ever seen how Star Wars was saved in the edit? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't think so.
So there was a longer edit of the first movie.
Yeah.
And they played it. He played it for Steven Spielberg and whatnot, and they all looked at him like, "This is terrible." And you can find it on YouTube right now, the original edit, and there's so much time of fucking Luke just walking around Tatooine doing nothing at the beginning. Yeah. And it's edited weirdly. I'll send you that link as well, because it's a really good thing. And his wife, George Lucas's wife, basically saved the first movie.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have said it, and I agree with the sentiment, is that George is like really good with ideas, especially coming up with like, and we were talking about toys as well.
Yeah.
Like Boba Fett's design.
Yeah.
Bro, there's a reason that design slaps so hard and that we still have the Mandalorian, because that is a good... I feel like he's better at designing in some ways than he is coming up with coherent scripts and sometimes. Like, he just has like this vision and having people bring it in, and that was the problem with the prequels.
Yeah. Well,
no one was bringing it in.
Well, that's... I think that's a really astute observation. I do want to mention really quick, you got to shout out Ralph McQuarrie, who's the concept artist, because he really deserves a shit ton of credit for how Star Wars ended up looking, and he came up with a lot of like the really iconic designs. But you're right. I mean, Boba Fett, like that. I think Boba Fett is the perfect representation of Star Wars in that he just looks he
looks so fucking badass,
inconceivably cool. Like you cannot. He had like 5 lines in the entire original trilogy.
And had the biggest impact.
Yeah. Like, people can't fucking get, like, their minds off of him. And this is, like, we had, like, expanded universe books and comics and all that shit. But, like, why did we even have that? Because people were so fucking obsessed.
I know.
With just how he looked.
I know. You can go really far just off of design. And that's kind of what Star Wars was in the first film until they, like, brought it together and created a cohesive narrative that was like, oh, this actually flows. It's paced coherently.
Well, which, you know, obviously Empire Strikes Back, best of the original trilogy, probably the best Star Wars movie ever made. Not directed by George Lucas. That's Irvin Kershner.
Yep.
You know, and Larry Kasdan was, like, really took over the writing responsibilities. George has great conceptual mind. Yeah. You know, I think he hit the nail on the head with that.
He's kind of like his brain just kind of just like shoots out like really cool ideas, and then you kind of need to have like they're like cattle, and you got to range them in, and like, you know, you got to get them in that group. And otherwise, you're just spread out, and you're like, what the fuck's happening?
To your point, there were no, you know, cowboys, there were no sheep herders, you know, keeping them in line.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he had the range for the prequels, but what's even crazy and even like just a better testament to Star Wars is he made those like a political thriller, political drama, which, you know, if it was really just that, it would have been some of the worst movies ever. But still, he was still able to give us like crazy awesome shit. Like,
what was
Darth
that plane
Maul.
one? What was that plane one? Do you know that movie he made? Like Red Wings or some shit?
Oh, yeah. The Red Tails?
Yeah,
the Red
like
Tails
that.
movie.
Yeah, you started making me think of Red Tails. Yeah. But yeah, the whole, I mean, that fucking, in, what's it called? In the first prequel, you know, very political, which is, you know, you don't notice that as a kid. I remember watching it as a kid and just being like, they're talking
Darth
a lot.
Maul. Sure, cool. Yeah, oh shit, he's back. Yeah, fucking double-bladed lightsaber, let's go.
Yeah, like, dude, after I watched No Way Home a couple weeks ago, me and my friend went back and watched Spider-Man 2. Yeah. And I was like, wow, I don't remember a lot of this, because I saw this in 2004. Yeah. And it's like, it's amazing how much you look past as a kid.
No, it is, and I think that's great to bring up, because I think a lot of us who kind of had to think about the prequels later because we were kids. Yeah. You know, if you go back, and, you know, this is like a popular thing on YouTube, is videos from the news back when Phantom Menace came out, and like people coming out of the theaters being like, that wasn't that great. Yeah. After like going to the theater being so excited, but like kids, you know, they don't show kids, because we would have come out there and been like, yeah, it was fucking sick. Yeah, let's go. I want to see that again. Yeah. But yeah, so like it was
pod racing.
Yeah. Which I think will bring me finally to what I want to say about the sequels. Yeah. So again, you know, sequels came out when we were in college.
Yeah. 2015.
So we had sort of, you know, we had seen, really loved, and appreciated the original trilogy. We had seen the prequels. We had the time to sort of reflect on both and understand what the good and the bad was about both of them. But, you know, really, what's the good and the bad about the prequels? And then the sequels show up. And the first movie gets The Force Awakens, which did a really great job of bringing back the sort of visual identity that made Star Wars. Yeah. But kind of retold.
It was basically just the first film.
It was pretty much just A New Hope. Yeah. Which, you know, okay. There's a lot of sort of narrative archetypes that, you know, you can't say like, oh, you just ripped off the first movie, because it's, you know, the Star Wars is very archetypical to begin with. So, okay, you know, good idea. Then Last Jedi comes out.
This is what I really wanted to know your opinion on, because I feel like this is the most divisive film out of the three.
Believe it or not, I actually liked The Last Jedi.
I did as well.
I enjoyed it. I recognized that there were some fascinating choices that were made, but I think Rian Johnson overall made a pretty good movie.
Yeah.
Uh,
and can I put my input on?
Oh
this?
yeah, no, please.
I think it's at the time I really liked that movie.
Yeah.
But as a standalone, if you put it with the other two, I'm like, he kind of fucked J.J. Abrams when like he killed off the main guy they're setting up, and they're like, what do we do?
Well, yeah, like, I think that's a fair point, but also to sort of recontextualize, like, and we'll get back to this later. It just shows how little of a plan that they had.
Yeah,
they pretty much had no plan.
And I mean, this has been said already. Like, this is confirmed. They were doing each movie on its own, and then looking at audience feedback, and then deciding what they would do for the next movie, and giving it to a new director.
Yeah,
just to be like, and like when they gave it to Rian Johnson, they were just like, do what you want, because the criticism they had from the first movie was that it was too by the script. It was because, like what you just said, it was like, it was basically just A New Hope, and it was too formulaic. So like, all right, let's give it to this artsy director and have him just fucking grab the reins. And that's why it was just a weird, like, it was just a totally different film from the first one.
Which, you know, I look, the fight with Snoke.
Yeah. Cool fight.
Absolutely sick.
Yeah.
I could watch that
and the
a million times.
When they kill him, I was like, oh shit, like that's cool. Like I was like, oh, they got a plan, like there's something bigger coming, and come to realize they're like, oh, we're just scrambling now. We don't know what we're gonna do. We're like, oh, Palpatine's back.
Well, yeah. So, you know, just to kind of wrap up my thoughts on Last Jedi, like, yeah, there's weird shit that happens. The Leia like yeet in space,
getting shot into space and then flying back and then dying.
You know what? I get it, but like probably not advisable. You know, some people were like mad about that, like the battering ram maneuver where they just, you know, hyperspaced a ship into another ship.
That was one of my favorite parts.
Well, I thought that was sick.
In IMAX, I was like, when it's like, and they're just like shooting through. That was one of my favorite parts. Yeah, because I just thought it was cool.
No, I mean I think there was a lot of cool stuff that happened. I don't think it's the best Star Wars movie by any stretch of imagination. Oh, well, I don't think it's you know all that great of a movie, but I enjoyed it.
Carried away, Scott.
And no, of course. And then we get on to Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah.
And I actually have been talking a lot about the Rise of Skywalker because mentioned
I'm glad.
No Way Home. What I've been saying to people about Spider-Man No Way Home is Spider-Man No Way Home is so good, in my estimation, that it makes every single old, you know, past Spider-Man movie better.
Yes.
So, you know,
it ties them all together.
It ties them all together. Gives people like...
Man, I was crying in the theater. I was like so happy.
It gives it. You know,
I saw it twice.
It finishes like arcs from, you know, Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. Yeah. It recontextualizes, you know...
Yeah.
Tom Holland's Spider-Man, like this.
It resets the universe, and that Tom is basically traditional Spider-Man too.
This, you know, this Spider-Man trilogy was basically his origin. It was a 3-movie origin story.
Yeah.
Which is sick.
Fucking beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good.
So to come back, it's so good that it made these past movies better. Rise of Skywalker was so bad that it made not only the other 2 sequel movies, but some of the prequel movies worse for just like even just being a movie. Like, it was just the total revelation that they had no plan.
Basically saying that this movie's a tumor and it's just taking down the rest of the franchise.
You know, you were talking about it like, I don't think there could have been a worse idea than... Like, all right, we're just taking it piece by piece, and we'll see how people react. Look, there's nothing wrong than, you know, market research, seeing what your audience is like, see what they don't.
That's not how you write a trilogy.
No, it's not. You have to have an idea.
You have to have an arc.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Trilogies exist for a reason. Yeah. Because a narrative arc, what we have agreed on through human history, beginning, middle, end. So a trilogy... Beginning, first movie, middle, second movie, and third movie. You're telling, like you said, an arc, a single story across 3 movies. Exactly. You're not telling one story and then, we're going to change pretty much everything.
It's just a squiggly line at this point.
And then, at the end, we're like, how do we wrap this all up and wrap all of Star Wars up? If you knew this was... Because now we have 3 trilogies, so we have a trilogy beginning, trilogy middle,
of trilogies.
A trilogy of trilogies, exactly. I don't know how you could conceivably think...
We might need 4 now. And aren't they working on a 4th?
I don't even... I don't even know. I think, it's so fascinating that they made this, and it's really fascinating that they made this decision in the same company as Marvel.
Yeah, that's
under Disney, who, obviously they have not written out, maybe they have, but they haven't written out 20-year stories, but they have a map, and they know if they want to tell a story that it needs to.
They have the phases.
Yeah, they have the phases. They know, threads
maybe
need
we
to
should
go.
get Kevin Feige on Star Wars. That would be kind of sick. I'm not gonna lie.
I think that's, it's insane.
We got Happy Hogan directing Mandalorian. Fuck it.
Well, I think that's what really. Besides the fact that they had no plan, which is ludicrous to begin with.
I know, right?
They have people making these movies, and it's, we're Star Wars nerds. We love Star Wars.
Yeah.
And it's, of course we're going to say this, and we sound like dorks saying it. We sound like,
I don't give a fuck.
absolute Star Wars simps. But, like, you really gotta love this shit.
Yeah.
To make a good Star Wars movie. You gotta love it. Yeah. And it's, it can't just be like, I had some toys when I was a kid, and I remember watching the movies. The Russo brothers, who make...
Yeah, they made the fucking Avengers
they made the best Avengers movies.
Yeah.
They have thousands of comic books that they grew up reading.
Oh, yeah.
They love this shit. Yeah. They've got their fucking, teeth in it.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta love Star Wars to make a Star Wars movie, because there's so much about Star Wars that makes it great. It's, obviously, we've got, as my buddy Chris likes it, we got Chef making, we got Happy Hogan making the Mandalorian.
Oh my God, you brought Chef into the mix. Scott,
underrated movie, by the way.
You don't understand how happy that makes me.
Underrated movie. There's actually a really great YouTube video about how that movie is about how pissed off he was directing Iron Man 2.
Yeah? Wait, why was he pissed off directing Iron Man 2?
Because, or I forget what actually happened, but, he got to make Iron Man 1 pretty much the way he wanted to make it. And then they were like, no, you can't make 2 the way you want to make it. We got to make it the way we want to make it, which is...
You just fucking said what Todd McFarlane said, man. That Todd McFarlane, he was like, once I got Spider-Man back on the map, everybody loved it again. They want to take it away from you, even though I'm the one who made it. I'm the reason why people like it again.
Yeah. I think, that is the ultimate... kind of the Achilles heel of playing with someone else's toys.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's, I
playing with someone else's toys. I like that.
You can, if they'll give you the toys.
Legos.
Yeah, they'll give you the well, the Legos is an even better analogy.
Is it?
Because they'll give you the Lego, say you go over your cousin's house.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, your cousin is, I don't know, he wants to watch TV, but you want to play Legos. So you go over to the bin, you dump them out, and you've got this fucking gorgeous idea. You're like, I'm going to build this castle and you do it, you spend hours doing it, you build this castle. And no one can believe you did it. Your cousin's like lost his mind. He's like, holy shit, this is the coolest thing you've ever seen. And you're like, all right, I'm going to play with it now or build more around it or whatever. And he's like, no, get the fuck out of here. These are my Legos.
Yeah.
You can't, I have decided I'm back.
And I want to add this shit to the castle you just built. And you're like,
did I not just do all this? I am the reason that I did it. And, that this is so great, but, they're his Legos. And
I threw Legos out there just off the top of my mind. I'm glad you made this great analogy out of it. Thank you.
Well, yeah, I mean,
This is why I hang out with screenwriters.
Oh, man. Yeah, no, so I think... I'm glad you used that McFarlane quote.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got my feelings about Todd, but I think that's an incredibly astute observation, and it's unfortunate because look what we've seen is George created Star Wars, and it was the original trilogy was beautiful, and then he waited a long ass time, and even in between we got to see how cool shit could be done if other people got to play in the sand with the Legos. I don't know if you read like
the
Dark
books.
Forces.
Are those the books?
The books, the Thrawn trilogy.
So what's funny, and when I was preparing to like do this with you, I was like thinking about, because my friend Parshan has read all of them, and he keeps telling me how great they are.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, I'll get around to them. Haven't done it, but yeah, have you read them?
I mean, there are literally so many books you could not possibly.
I heard Disney made them non-canon now.
Well, so that's, and I can't really blame him for it because it was just, even George didn't really consider them canon.
Really?
Because he was looking to make money.
Yeah.
George, besides just being like a great creative mind, he's a marketing genius.
Well, the toys, man. Like we were talking about how we even started with this was like he's good at designing characters that will make good toys that kids want to fucking buy. They'll go into Walmart and be like, I want that shit.
Yeah. And look, George is a billionaire.
Yeah.
These days he's mostly a billionaire because he sold his company for billions of dollars. But he was a billionaire even before that because when he negotiated his deal to sell the first movie, he said, "You pretty much don't even have to pay me, just give me like a good chunk of your merchandising money." And they were like, fuck, whatever. This is the 70s. We don't know what we're doing. And they said, yeah. And his toys sell billions. His toys.
We got toys on the table.
Yeah,
right
the toys outsell the toys, the merchandise, the shirts, the Halloween costumes. Billions of dollars.
Well, because
way more than the box office.
Exactly. It's like you think of like rappers or like artists right now making music. They're not making money off the album. Their album is what's promoting a $70 ticket to their show or like selling T-shirts. You make way more money off of fucking a Gildan fucking it's crusty, doesn't even feel nice T-shirt from a rapper than you will off an album.
Well, the tie-in, we were talking about how much I love wrestling. One of my favorite wrestling quotes of all time is, "It's a T-shirt business. Don't kid yourself."
I like that.
It's a T-shirt business.
Man, I mean, fucking. Let's just say that about life. Life is a fucking T-shirt business.
I don't think you're wrong.
You don't have to. You can put that to anything.
Yeah.
It's like, man, you're trying to make any product. And I'm not. Fuck just T-shirts in mind. It's just like any product you want to make. There's something around it that's gonna make more money that you're trying to promote. I love anime. They're selling T-shirts. They're selling plushies. They're selling whatever. We'll add a cute animal character just to throw a plushie in there, so we can. I mean, Pokemon makes fucking hell of money. Yeah. But regardless, it's crazy.
But yeah, so with the expanded universe, like George was trying to make money. He wasn't really keeping tight reins on like. Obviously, there were editors and people who were in charge of some continuity stuff, but he didn't keep a tight rein on it. So when Disney made all like the stuff, they call it the Star Wars Legends, so effectively non-canon. But still the good shit they bring in because not to obviously there's some smart people, some creative people working there, and Favreau did a great job coming up with the Mandalorian character Din Djarin, but they were like. With Rebels, like we got to bring back Thrawn. We got to bring back Grand Admiral Thrawn. Why not? He's he's a sick character. How can you just leave that and say like Legends? We're never touching it again. They'll bring it in. They have been bringing it in. Bringing in. Making Clone Wars.
I do like canon. Series that will create characters and then later down the line kind of incorporate them again. Yeah. And I'll bring it back to fucking One Piece, man. Characters that show up in Chapter 10. Show up in chapter 700 and you're like, oh, he's back, and it's like and it's so well integrated, it's not even like forced. It doesn't feel like, oh no, we're not, we're just bringing him in just because why not. It's like it makes complete sense. It's crazy how the level, the webs of like just of all the characters. There's 700 named characters in the universe.
That's insane.
Named. There's more characters than that, but that's just named characters. But yeah, if you like world building.
Well, that's the beauty of it is you got to always look at it as a universe. And, a lot of people will complain like, oh, it's ridiculous. There's this whole galaxy and you've got Ahsoka Tano running across Din Djarin. Like, that's stupid. Like, what are the odds of that happening? It's a story. We have decided we want it to happen.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. It's not like we established in two different stories that they're light years away and they, they'll never
in the
talk to each
story
other.
where those two meet up, there's a billion other stories where a bunch of other characters didn't meet up in that story. I used to have this problem. I remember when I was in college, early college, I'd be watching shows and I'd be like, how does it like work out that he gets out of jail or something from this happening or whatever? Like, that seems like a coincidence. And then I realized, like, okay, you're looking at a story, but like, if he didn't get out of jail from this, he probably later down the line in the story would get out because of that.
Yeah.
Because it's a fucking story.
Well, yeah, I mean...
It's like, there's no use being like, oh, this is contrived or whatever.
Well, believe me, there are certainly very contrived stories out there.
There's a difference, though.
Yeah, there is a difference. Saying. There's absolutely a difference. And, coincidences happen all the time.
Yeah.
It's fine.
We literally talked about coincidences earlier.
Yeah. You want to tell a story, you have every right to...
You saw Nick at fucking Walmart.
Yeah, of all places.
What are the odds that Scott and Nick see each other at Walmart? I don't believe that.
Well, that Walmart, I've always said, the Walmart in Naugatuck, Connecticut, you always... Every time you go there, you're going to see someone you know.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10.
Man, I got a love-hate relationship with that Walmart.
I think everyone does.
We're not going to get into that.
No. But yeah, I think, I don't know, I don't even remember what we were
I know, we're kind of going all over the place, but I like it. This is what I like about doing podcasts, is like, you just kind of like throw your thoughts out there. No, but like, we came from the Legos analogy of talking about how with the last movie in the trilogy, they were just kind of like, it was all over the fucking place. Yeah. Like, you know what bothered me the most in Rise of Skywalker? It was just like right off the bat, they're like, in the title crawl, they're like, Palpatine's back. It's like, you're not gonna have like a moment where you reveal that. You're just gonna write it in the title crawl. Like, I didn't like that. I personally was just like,
well, I mean, that was in the original trilogy. The killing of Palpatine was, a really tremendous moment. It was sort of
iconic.
The redemption of Vader.
Yeah.
The freedom of Luke from influence and control.
Yeah.
We spent the entire prequel trilogy building up to his, claiming the role of the Emperor, and so this is possibly the second or third most important character in the Star Wars saga. And you just write him in like, he's back.
Yeah, he's back. Like, come on, at least give him more weight in the narrative. Like, you got to have that reveal moment where it's like, okay, he's back. And like, we all knew he was going to be back. They fucking tease it in the trailer.
Yeah.
It's not even about being surprised. It's just like, some fucking respect. This is Palpatine. You're just going to be like, Palpatine's back. We couldn't find... Like... It just felt disrespectful. Like, it was like, okay. And I don't even blame J.J. Abrams. It just felt like he was kind of fucked in the position he was because he's, like, trying to figure out how to make this film.
We don't know, and I doubt we'll ever know the sort of intricacies of, who was doing what, who was responsible for what J.J. was really, what his onus was. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, he's, by name, he's a director. So, obviously there was some control, but you got to imagine at some point he was pretty much handed a script, and it was like, you can help out with this, but really you just got to make the best of it. And really the ideas going in were shit. Yeah.
So he's like, well, this is what I have to work with. Like, I can't veer from this.
Yeah.
That's a rough position to be in.
I mean, I certainly do not envy it.
And I'm sure J.J. Abrams fucking loves Star Wars. And so, like, he has to sit there making a movie he doesn't like for fucking how long do you think the filming and production of that was? Like a year and something. It's like, man, that's rough.
No, it is. It is. I can't... that's... That's something about directing that, obviously you get to some extent, you get to choose the projects you work on. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think to most extent you get to choose what you work on. But sometimes being a director, you have to do things you don't necessarily want to do. And obviously, when you're a writer, you get notes and all that fun shit. But that's kind of what drew me to writing is I come up with the idea.
Exactly. Yeah.
Someone's gonna tell me a little bit how to change it, but really it's my idea, and having to interpret other people's ideas, especially if they suck, is you do feel bad for JJ. You really do.
Yeah, well, because from what I've seen in interviews, he seems like a guy who's like really into Star Wars. He doesn't seem like a guy who's just like, whatever, I'll fucking do it. They're paying me a bunch.
Yeah.
He seemed to have enthusiasm, and so like you look at that and you're like, okay, I would imagine he signed on to that last movie because they're like, we need you, like they convinced him, and they're like, we're gonna pay you a bunch of money because like everyone loved the first movie, but we're kind of fucked right now, and it just like once you're in that position, you're like, okay, you sign on, then you're really getting you convince yourself to sign on, then you're like, what did I fucking do? Why am I here? But it's like you can't leave now. You're the director.
Yeah, I think. I think what's really challenging about really any sort of successful creative media is that people, it's a business ultimately, and people want to make money continuously, pretty much by any means necessary, and the safest way to make money is to bet on low risk.
Well, that's why there's so many reboots, there's so many sequels, there's so much shit. Cause
you knew it worked once, people go see it again.
There's a reason why the Sonic racing game, which is just Sega characters, is called Sonic with the Sega All-Stars.
Yeah.
Because they want that name, Sonic, at the top. They're not going to make a Star Wars movie without putting Star Wars somewhere like near the title because they need that marketing, man.
Well, like, Rogue One. Rogue One, a Star Wars story.
A Star Wars
Couldn't
story.
Just be Rogue One.
Yeah, because they're like, what the fuck's Rogue One?
Yeah.
Oh, Star Wars. My kids know Star Wars.
Yeah. But I think, you look at things like Marvel.
Yeah.
Right? This is something that, they're pretty fortunate because they can tell pretty unlimited story. There's been 75 years of Marvel Comics.
Exactly.
And there's literally
a lot of source material.
Usually around like 50 comics that come out every month. So 50 comics every month for 75 years. Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's an extreme amount of comics.
Yeah, you got a fucking wealth of source material.
And you've got a bunch of different characters, some connected, some not connected, bunch of different spaces to play in. You can do Earth, you can do Earth, you could do space, you could do other universes, other, the heavens, the hells, all that great shit.
Yeah.
And you can, bring them together and you can create these complex narratives, but really you have the fortune of doing different shit to fit different needs and to fit different creators and not always having to sort of perfectly align. I think the great mistake with Star Wars is like they felt like they needed to make money, which they did. They paid a lot of money. Why would they not make Star Wars movies?
Yeah.
But just the choice that like we've got to continue. It's like they wanted to continue the Skywalker saga, but they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
they're just it was very wishy-washy.
And I think the success of The Mandalorian really spoke to the fact, and things like Rogue One, is we love Star Wars for its Marvel-like properties.
Yeah.
That it's a universe. Yeah. And you can do different things, and you should do different things. And you can pick, cherry pick little characters and explain their backgrounds and tell their stories. And obviously the premise of Rogue One is like they had the Death Star plans at the beginning of A New Hope. Yeah. Well, how the hell did they get them? Yeah. So let's tell a story about that. These sort of one-offs, and Solo didn't do well at the box office. I enjoyed it as a movie. You can explore these different nooks and crannies, and people are going to be interested by that. But the decision to, like, on the surface say, okay, we're adding to the Star Wars saga, we're adding to the Skywalker saga, but like not really do it because you don't have the commitment, you don't have the love, you don't have the knowledge, you don't have the interest in, sitting down and finishing the 9-movie arc, the 6-movie arc with the last 3 movies.
There's just no cohesive narrative. Like the last movie, Rise of Skywalker, the plot is basically we need to find a thing to find a thing to find Palpatine. That's the plot.
Yeah. And I think, one of my favorite quotes of all time, which I believe is from the movie Brian's Song, which is about Brian Piccolo, who played for Chicago Bears, dying of cancer very young. But basically, it was a Gale Sayers quote or attributed to him. He was a running back for the Chicago Bears. Every true story ends in death. And that's like has a pretty life applicable message of, if you live, you will die, right?
Yeah.
If it's a true story, everyone dies in the end.
Eventually, the end of that story ends with that character dying.
But, sort of on and actually I heard this from Aaron Sorkin, every movie ends in the metaphorical death of a character, whether they actually die, whether their ideals die, whether they're satisfied and fulfilled and their mission dies because
kind of like a hero's journey.
Yeah,
like
literally
the death of who they were at the beginning.
Literally,
yes, they don't have to literally die. It's just kind of who they were at the beginning of the story and like that arc.
You are absolutely right. You are absolutely 100% right, and I think that message was not understood in the making of the sequel trilogy because they didn't even think about it because I don't even know how to say this because they said they were going to inherently the original trilogy is a story of Luke Skywalker and his father Anakin, and the prequel trilogy is the story of Anakin leading up to the story of Luke and Anakin. And the sequel trilogy is about, Luke isn't in the first movie until the end, but his lightsaber is, and then he's in the second one, and then he dies at the end, in kind of a cool way. And then the girl who's the protagonist of the first movie, in the third movie we find out is the daughter of the villain
Palpatine
from the first 2 trilogies.
I took problem with that because what reason is there for her to be Palpatine's daughter? There's literally no reason.
Well, that's my point. There is no reason.
Yeah.
Then the emotionally fulfilling version of this story is that she's either Luke's daughter, she's another Skywalker's daughter, or she's Kenobi's daughter, who is the mentor.
Yeah.
And is his sort of spiritual father.
Yeah.
If she's the daughter of the villain, who is dead by means of a fulfillment of Luke Skywalker and his father, what are we how are we supposed to feel?
And you know why we feel that? I completely agree with what you just said. The reason we feel that way is because the first 2 movies do nothing to set that up. If you had set up something to do with her being Palpatine's daughter, that could be a cool story. But you don't get that reward by tacking it on at the end. You literally it doesn't fucking work like that.
You're absolutely
bad
correct.
Storytelling.
You're absolutely correct. And again, sort of getting back to that sort of mantra, that ideology, every true story ends in death. There is no death.
Yeah.
Because there is no one to die.
No. If
that makes sense.
No. That was a really good quote. I agree with that.
Whose
They're just
journey
kind of shells.
Yeah. And that last line, Rey Skywalker.
I'm Rey Skywalker.
That means nothing.
Yeah, no.
She has fulfilled nothing.
Yeah, no. She really didn't even have an arc like that. So
I think maybe what they were kind of going for is she found a family.
Yeah.
But she didn't.
Yeah, no.
She found a name.
Yeah, no. She's just I don't want to be Palpatine, so I'm just gonna be a Skywalker. It's she didn't even build that family really. There wasn't even enough time for Leia and Luke to die.
Yeah, we got part of one movie building her up as a relationship with just Luke.
Yeah.
And kind of Leia around things, and obviously the issues of her dying didn't help.
Of course.
Which, you know.
And Harrison Ford didn't even fucking want to be in the movie. And then he was in the first one. He's like, all right, kill my character off. So that adds a whole nother layer of the shit show. It's like, just kill off Harrison Ford's character. Let's just fucking, no, we don't need him. Like, it's ridiculous, dude.
Yeah, yeah, I think, you know, something like, you got to look at other media properties and their successes and their failures, like something like Harry Potter. You know, you've got the Harry Potter story, and that's what's good and fulfilling and enjoyable. And yeah, they tried this other shit with the Fantastic Beasts, and you know, I don't even know what the fuck's going on.
Have you seen it?
No.
I heard it's actually quite good.
Yeah, I you know, haven't seen it yet.
Because it's not like, it doesn't have to do with Harry Potter. It's just in the Harry Potter universe.
No,
I've heard it's pretty good.
They're smart enough, which is funny because they did do that play, which is apparently is not good. And you know, they've stayed away from
Broadway.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Cursed Child. They've stayed away from so
It didn't
far.
have a Harry Potter story in it, so I didn't know.
That's funny. That's good. Maybe they should have looked into taking a page out of Star Wars book. The Cursed Child, a Harry Potter story.
Yeah, no, I would have gone. I wouldn't have. I've only seen half the Harry Potter movies.
But I think, like, it, you know, it just, if you're going to tell a narrative in a creative space, you have to commit to doing it consistently in order to be successful. And if you're not going to do it, if you're just going to play in the universe, just play in the universe. And don't give people the false hope, because it's, you know, look, you're going to fail miserably if you play at it and you don't do it.
Yeah.
Do it or don't.
You know? And the thing that pisses me off the most about, like, it's like everything always has to be so much at stake. And that's why I like The Mandalorian, that it's more of a stripped down story of just like, okay, we're telling these narratives of just like each episode we're doing this or whatever. And it's a good story. You just want to be engaged in whatever. It doesn't have to be grandiose. Not that is bad. Some grandiose films where or some of the original Star Wars movies, you're blowing up the Death Star. Like, that's fucking awesome. But you don't have to do that. And, man, this is my problem with Pokemon. I'm going to bring it to Pokemon. The first game, the narrative of the first Pokemon game is so good because you go from, you know, you're going out on your adventure, right? And then the opposing... the antagonist of that game is either your rival, Gary Oak, or you have Team Rocket. And all of those narratives of being the Pokemon champion, the leader of Team Rocket is the last gym leader. So that narrative ties into you wanting to be the champion, and then you wanting to go there, fight your rival. They all tie in together. Yeah. The new Pokemon games is like, time and space are warping, and then the god of this Pokemon is like, bro, I just want to catch Pokemon and fight Team Rocket. I don't give a shit. It's like, they're trying to do too much. Everything has to be so high stakes. It's like, that's not how you tell a good story. Like,
I think you're absolutely right. And that's, I was actually talking about this with another buddy of mine the other day. Me too, man. I'm so sick of the world ending all the time. Because, you know, to bring it to more, you know, conceptually meta, you know, we kind of have to deal with that as humans every day these days. You know, we're always...
sad thing. That's true.
And, you know, whether that's true or it's, you know, a little bit of a sensationalism by the media remains to, you know, that's a whole other discussion. But, you know, why does everything have to have massive stakes? Like, you know, like... like, you know, hey, Batman is a really enjoyable, you know, character, I think, partly for that reason, because maybe the Joker's gonna poison the entire well in Gotham or all the water in Gotham, but like, it's just Gotham. You know, we don't have to, there's the stakes are low enough to, you know, they feel personal, they feel engaging. Because when you go that big and you go that wide and you go that, like, large in scale, it's like, why do I care?
Yeah.
I'm gonna die, whatever.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
you can't, it's almost like you can't do anything if it's that big scale. It's like, oh, then only this God can save us, or this miraculous event. What's interesting about that? I don't know. It's like, to your point with Mandalorian, it's, look, 9 movies we dealt with, like, the stakes of the universe rely on this one man or this one woman with a lightsaber. Take us to a fucking cantina where some dude has got to be taken in on a bounty.
He doesn't like you.
Yeah.
Like, that's more fun, man. Yeah. Dude, like, yeah, it's just like, it's not even that the world-ending circumstances have to be, like, that's a bad thing in general, because you can tell a good story like that for sure. It's just when writers look at that as, how do we escalate? What's the next big thing? How do we make this better than the last one? We just raise the stakes of, like, this is the problem Dragon Ball Z came into, is that everything was like, this guy can blow up a planet. Well, this guy can blow up like a bunch of planets. It's like, okay, well, why do I give a shit?
Yeah.
It's like, at some point, like, it just becomes a numbers game, and you're like, my human brain does not compute, like, okay, planets, whatever. The way to tell an effective narrative is just by creating a strong foundation with characters that are good foils to each other.
Yeah.
And that's like you said, the Batman and the Joker, great foils to each other, where, like, they're clashing and it works. You want to you're just interested in that narrative. It doesn't matter. Batman's not saving people who are going to blow up the earth. He's saving the city. And that's fine.
That's exactly, because all stories about a person who has a problem.
Yeah.
Right? Person has a problem. How do we fix the problem? There's something in the way, either something or some person or himself. And yeah, like, okay, maybe something like Superman. Superman's the most powerful being in the world. So yeah, maybe you need this, like, apocalyptic event to, give him something interesting to combat. But, even then I kind of disagree, because, it's a person has a problem. A person has a problem, or more, a group of people have a problem.
The narrative stakes are more important than actual, like, logical stakes of, like, the planet. Like, House, I mentioned House earlier. He's like the Goku of that universe. Yeah. House is just like, but he get his ass kicked by Superman. It doesn't matter. You're engaged with his power level in his story.
Yeah.
Like, how you're fleshed out in the context of whatever story you're telling. It's not size of the stakes, it's how you fit into what that story is about. And they totally fucking missed the mark with the new Star Wars trilogy.
Well, yeah, like, I think to go back to Batman for a second, Batman is an incredibly fleshed out character. We know pretty much everything there is to know about Batman. There's very little that no writer has explored. He's a man with, a number of problems.
Yeah.
He's got Joker, who just really he tests his Joker tests Batman's ability to adhere to his mantra, I will not kill.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Joker is like, I am literally the incarnate of evil. I will push you to do, to the very limit of that mantra. But he has other characters, other villains that test different parts of his personality. He has the Riddler, who, tests his intellect. He's got Bane, who tests both his intellect and his strength. He's got Catwoman, who, sort of blurs the lines of what is good, what is evil, and, makes him question that himself. Two-Face, the same thing with Justice. You've got, if you want to tell, if you've got a character or a universe and you want to keep escalating the stakes or continuing the story, know that there are different dimensions of the character or the group of characters or the situation than just, we can make it bigger because
add more villains.
Okay, a Joker wants to kill 5 people in the first movie. Well, now he's going to kill 500 people in the next movie. But he's still the same thing. He's still the same challenge.
Increasing the number doesn't change anything. It's more of the stakes personally to the character is what matters. Yeah. And, like, that's, like, why the new Spider-Man movie is so enjoyable is because, like, yeah, we got 5 villains in there, but, like, Doc Ock's not even really a villain for most of the movie. And it's more, you know, I love because, you know, I like Batman, but I love the way you just summarized, like, how each villain tests Batman. I just love how in Spider-Man that it's like every villain is just kind of a villain by circumstance. You know, you have like Doc Ock, who's, you know, he just wanted to create his life's work, right? And that created him. Or like the Goblin Serum, or like, you know, Sandman's just trying to fucking like save his child. You know, every villain is like, there's different like circumstances for a lot of them.
Well, it works because that's who Peter is, a hero by circumstance.
Yeah.
So every time
he's the foil of it.
Well,
he tried to fight for money, which is what he could have gone the route of being a villain. Instead, because of Uncle Ben, he became Spider-Man, and that's why the narrative clashed so well.
Yeah, well, because every time he fights someone, he fights a potential, part of himself, a potential version of himself.
Exactly.
What if it didn't work? If he turned into, instead of a man with spider powers, he turned into a spider with man powers? like he'd be a villain.
Spider-Ham.
Yeah.
Spider that got bit by a pig.
And exactly, like the most successful stories are the ones that hone in on that.
100%. It's so fucking good.
Yeah, well, and do it well because, you know, Spider-Man 2 with Electro I hate that movie.
That's the only one I haven't seen.
It's not good.
I've seen clips of it.
The first, you should really, just the very beginning of that movie, where he's swinging through New York, is one of the best things that they've ever done.
I have seen that clip.
Yeah.
I have seen some. So, like, I've never, like, sat down and watched the movie.
Yeah.
But when No Way Home came out, I was watching all these Spider-Man clips. I watched Spider-Man 2. So, I just was getting recommended hella Spider-Man clips. So, I was, like, rewatching the end where he fights, like, Rhino for, like, 0.2 seconds. And then, like, that. I really like in the second Andrew Garfield film where, like, those kids are, like, bullying that kid and he lands down.
Yeah.
I saw that clip. Or he's just like, oh, like, and he's helping him up. I'm like, that's very Spider-Man. I like that. There's good parts, but I'm sure the narrative. I haven't seen it, though.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it. Which sucks, because Jamie Foxx is good as Electro. I loved him in the movie.
He's astronomically better in No Way Home.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I really liked him in No Way Home. Plus, I like that they brought the mask back. You know,
Well, it's such a impossible dorky mask to adapt that only works in comics.
Cool.
But they figured out how to do it.
They figured out how to make it look cool, and I was like, holy shit. And it's on Jamie Foxx. I was like, this is fucking dope, man. I enjoyed that so much.
It's just another reason to feel good. It's like Jamie Foxx got to be cool as hell and not some like blue lump.
Yeah, exactly.
And he, you know, before he becomes Electro, he's this like impossible, like goofy, embarrassing, sad dork. And you're like, this is so cringy and sad. And it's, you know, Jamie Foxx is the coolest guy in the world.
Was Electro like that in the comics? Like before he got his powers?
Honestly, I don't even know. As I remember, he was like kind of just a piece of shit bank robber who got the powers, who just kept robbing banks and being an asshole.
Wow, because I mean, like we said before, you always have different people interpreting this character.
Yeah.
And like, have you seen the newest Spider-Man cartoon? It's just called like Marvel Spider-Man, I think.
I don't think so.
They make Peter Parker an ultra nerd where he's just like, he's like fucking like he's just this hyper nerd, and it's like it's not likable. It's like Peter's always been a nerd. Yeah. But like you see, like, you know, like the different interpretation of it. Tom Holland's like charismatic and goofy, but he's like, he would be a cool kid because he's not that. Whereas like Tobey Maguire's more just like kind of like awkward but likably awkward.
Well, that's the wonderful sort of nature of the original creation. He's a smart kid. He's a very smart kid. He's a scientist. He's good at school.
Yeah.
But he's a photographer. So he's got, you know.
He's got hobbies.
He's got some hobbies. He's got some, you know, dynamism to his personality.
Yeah.
And yet, like, he is sort of always in the shadows and not popular. But, you know, he's not a dweeb.
In the newest cartoon, they made him insanely socially unaware.
Yeah.
Very, like, talks in basically, like, the periodic table.
Yeah.
And all the he goes to, like, a hyper version of the school that Tom Holland goes to, like a tech school.
Yeah.
But it's, like, a Tony Stark basically school where every student is basically they're building like they're just like MacGyvering fucking like ice beams on this. Like MJ can just be like ice beam and like launch it at villains. It's like, okay, so why do we need Spider-Man? Like what? Like what the fuck? Like they totally missed the mark. Someone's playing with the Legos of Spider-Man and they're just building off in the wrong ways, man.
Well, I'll tell you what. The only time that a school of like superheroes or superpowered people has ever worked is Sky High, which if you've ever seen Sky High,
the Disney
dude,
movie?
all-time favorite movie.
I haven't watched that in a long fucking time.
Absolute incredible film. Came out with Kurt Russell was at his sort of Disney Renaissance when he made Miracle. Sick movie. Can't recommend it to people enough.
Sky High is incredible. I mean, we're talking about hero schools. Look up, this is an anime, but I think you would, after talking to you for this long, you would like it. It's called My Hero Academia.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Very good, and very, the emotional beats they hit very well. It's just like about a guy who, everyone, you know in Incredibles, remember Incredibles, where he's like, I'm going to make the whole world super.
Yeah.
Well, the plot of the show is that is what happened.
Yeah.
Not by a person. They don't know what it's a mystery, but like everyone gains superpowers. But like some people, it's like I can light a tiny fire off my finger versus I can fucking torch a building. You know? So like there's different levels to the powers. Yeah. And the main character's born without powers. And there are people who are, but it's very unlikely. Yeah. And he's just like wants to be a hero and he gets granted by one of the greatest heroes his power. He has the power to pass on ability, but he loses it once he gives it. Mm-hmm. So it's that guy, one of the greatest heroes, training him, and it's just like, ooh, that hits, dude. It hits. Sick. It's a great story, and it's got good action, well animated, very well animated.
Oh man, that sounds fucking awesome. I'll definitely.
Yeah.
I have heard of it. I've seen a lot of stuff, toys and the like, but sounds pretty similar to Sky High, but. I mean, in ways that I'd love it. So that's sick. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. I always got to throw out my recommendations, man.
I appreciate it.
I can't shut the fuck up. Oh, wait. When we were talking before, I really wanted to ask you. Okay, Spider-Man 4, what do you think is going to happen? Like, who's the villain?
Okay, great question. So I think they're...
wait, real quick. On the count of 3, I'm going 1, 2, 3, and then we'll say it. Who's the villain? 1, 2, 3. Scorpion.
Oh, yeah!
Let's fucking go!
Gotta be Scorpion.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't think you were going to say that.
Why?
I don't know. I just like...
You think I don't know Spider-Man?
I think that's I mean, like... So, look, we got a whole new trilogy apparently coming. Mm-hmm. We have totally reset the world. Nobody knows who Peter is. People know who Spider-Man is. We gotta, we can't forget that people do know who Spider-Man is. He's got a cool... fucking classic looking costume coming up, and we've done the origin, but we really have to. He needs to be Spider-Man now.
Let's strip it back. It doesn't have to be all that shit like we were saying before. Let's have one villain. Let's have a main story, something like that.
And hey, maybe we even 2 villains, but I think
if there's a second villain, you know what? I saw someone theorize this. I thought this was an incredible idea.
Hit me.
Kingpin as a second villain. Because they've already had... Did you see Hawkeye?
Oh, of course.
He's in Hawkeye. He's in Daredevil, right? And then Kingpin as the villain. And then and Scorpion's like his attack dog.
Yeah.
And that's the 2. So it's like you got to take down Scorpion, then you got to take down Kingpin.
I mean, I think that's great because, you got Scorpion who's, a physical... foreboding entity who, can challenge him power-wise.
Kingpin's like the schemer. Got all the assets.
Who is also, very physically foreboding in a different way.
Does he have super strength? I've never understood this.
No.
As far as I know.
He's incredibly strong.
In Spider-Verse, he's like, boom! He's
like
fucking punching like Thanos. It's like...
The way he has been explained is, he obviously has weight on him. He has fat on him, but he is more muscle than anything. And he's just absolutely jacked.
Yeah.
Underneath, a little bit of fluff. Definitely a little exaggerated. Maybe he is enhanced a little bit, but he's not really supposed to have any natural powers. Probably on the gas, but he's. I think that'd be a great combo. You got to start off small, build us back up. We just, we kind of fucking climax with No Way Home.
Yeah, where it's like a big story where you're basically, it's like the ethos of the Spider-Man universe.
Yeah.
Like we said, these are people who are broken people who Peter could have become, and he's healing them.
Yeah.
So it totally hits what the meaning of Spider-Man is from the beginning.
Yeah.
And now we're starting up again. Let's get a Homecoming kind of story where it's like simple but effective. And I think that's the perfect one.
No, I agree, and you got to give some room because, you know, we've only just foreshadowed like his personal, like the personal issues of trying to re-become Peter Parker. So you got to have room for that. So you can't have anything too, you know, high concept. So, you know, pretty straightforward villains, pretty straightforward story that gives you room to do like other more complex stuff. I can't wait. I hope that's the path we go. And then second movie, I'm assuming, you know, got to go back in black.
You thinking Venom?
Thinking Venom.
See, I think it's going to be the last movie.
The only reason I don't think it's going to be the last movie, well, I guess there's a few reasons, but really it's like what characterizes the second act in a story is kind of like things reverse and now there's a problem. Like you were going, so you start off with a problem, you enter sort of the new world, you start doing well, and then
like an Empire Strikes Back kind of way, where like you end off bad. And so
we end bad.
The ending of the third movie is we're coming back.
Yeah, the third movie is
Return of the Jedi kind of movie.
It ends happy.
Yeah.
The third movie should end happy. So really because how much Venom breaks him, it kind of has to be that second movie for him to use the third movie to redeem himself and end satisfied.
I'm fucking excited to see if you're right now, because I didn't think about it that way. My way, I was just like, okay, Venom's like that fucking dude. It would be so cool to have him as like the last villain, to go off on that. But I get what you're saying.
You know what? I'm gonna actually I'm gonna correct myself here. This is what I'm gonna say. Venom so the black suit Venom conceptually needs to be introduced in the second movie.
But I think Venom.
I think
just the black suit.
The black suit. I think the villain of the second movie is gonna be Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah.
You familiar?
Well, they're making a Kraven the Hunter movie just on its own in the like Tom Hardy universe, like with Morbius and all them.
We'll see how that comes about, but I think he should definitely be the villain.
Kraven the Hunter would be dope.
Because you got the Kraven's Last Hunt, so he's wearing the black suit. He is affected by the black suit negatively, of course, like our classic Venom stories, symbiote stories. And then the third movie could and probably should be he actually fights Venom. Venom becomes Venom.
I fuck with that. Do you think Black Cat fits anywhere in this?
Yeah, I think she does. I think she could. I think she could fit in the first movie.
Yeah.
Just that might, if we have Scorpion and Kingdom and Black Cat, that might be a little much.
Yeah.
But she's that perfect sort of foil to MJ.
Yeah.
That could he'll be on this path to sort of win MJ's heart. And with the fact that she doesn't know him. But that like perfect diversion of like, now we got this sexy ass anti-hero bank robber who loves
Spider-Man.
Yeah, loves Spider-Man.
And you know why it's perfect too is that no one remembers Peter Parker right now as well. And so she loves Spider-Man and she just wants to convince him like, no, don't go back to your life as Peter Parker. Just be yourself.
Yeah.
Or just be Spider-Man, I mean. Like, you don't have, like, why even bother trying to gain your life back, your previous life? Just be Spider-Man and we'll be together,
Exactly.
It makes so much fucking sense. It's like, holy shit, they set up so much, like, shit that could be so cool for this next trilogy, man.
Yeah, no, I they really have. The only thing that worries me is Sony's desire to continually do their own thing on the side.
Yeah, well,
which has
money
been less good than good. more.
Talking about bringing back Andrew Garfield. I think that'd be cool.
I would love. He was the highlight of No Way Home for me. I would love to see him back.
I like his acting. I think he really embodies Peter Parker as well. He's like a cool Peter Parker. And
yeah.
Like, he definitely. I mean, when I see him, I'm like, that's Peter Parker. All three of them, but like, you know.
Well, he's definitely a cooler Peter Parker, but he really embodies like Spider-Man, like the quippy, funny. I mean, no one has done that. You know, Tom Holland does have, a good job, but no one has ever done a better job.
He's like slightly between being Spider-Man and a dick.
Yeah.
He's like if Spider-Man's here, it's like Deadpool's there. He's like not Deadpool, but he's more than Tom Holland.
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire.
Which I think, he's been written pretty often like that in the comics, and he's been,
a knife, my weakness. I love that. I love that fucking scene.
No, it's the only reason I would be concerned is just Sony's track record is terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't want to see them, they screwed him.
People are theorizing that they delayed Morbius so that they could edit him in. They could put Andrew Garfield
I
in
would
Morbius.
not be surprised, but
It's been delayed 6 times.
I will say that, a big reason they keep Sony delays stuff is that they do not have a streaming platform that they can fall back on, so they need to make sure it, 1, gets in theaters, and 2, gets in theaters during a lull in the pandemic.
Or people
can go see it.
Feel safer to go out.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But hey, honestly, I could absolutely see that happening because I think that'll pop the crowd big. And
oh yeah.
People go nuts.
People are losing it even when Andrew Garfield showed up when I went to go see No Way Home. People were, oh, that's my Spider-Man. I was like, I thought you guys didn't like him.
Well, I think, and something I do want to talk about for a little bit is my favorite moment of that movie. It was very, very quick. It was very small, and I'll explain why it's my favorite. It's when Toby comes through the Doctor Strange portal, and there's 1 second that Andrew and Toby look at each other.
Yeah, and they pause.
And they hold on that for just a beat. And I cried on the spot.
Yeah.
Because to me, and I'll tell you why this meant so much to me, and maybe you felt the same way, but of course, when we were kids, we grew up as children, elementary school children, with Toby. That was,
That's huge.
That was huge.
Those movies are massive.
And we were really blessed because tons of other people grew up with no Spider-Man for many years.
Yeah.
And we, were born right into, here's...
Right at that time
an amazing, here's an amazing live action... we all had the toys, and we all had the little, scholastic picture books and, movie novelizations, and it was everywhere, and it was everything to us.
Man, my dad has a Spider-Man blanket on his bed because he likes to sleep with 2 blankets, and we had an extra one. Yeah,
that, Toby was our lives, and there was a lull. We got a shitty third movie, and it sucked, and that was the first movie I ever saw where I was like, I don't like this, as a kid. And we had a lull, and then, we're in late middle school, early high school, and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man comes out, and the first movie was awesome. Yeah. And it was like, okay, now we've grown up a little bit. We're kind of like Spider-Man age now. Yeah. And he's our new Spider-Man, as young adults, as teenagers and young adults. Mm-hmm. And it was like, it really felt, and maybe this is a little dramatic, but you got to forgive me because I'm a little dramatic. It was like our child, like a 7-year-old of ourselves, was looking at a 16-year-old of ourselves. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it, just that one moment of we're the same person. Yeah. It was beautiful.
Just like the eras coming together. Yeah, no. I'm thinking of something that feels exactly that way, and I can't remember it. If it comes to me, I'll say it, but I get what you mean, because... you identify with Tobey Maguire, and then you age up, and then you start... We're at that Andrew Garfield age, and you start to feel really in tune with that. It's bringing those together. Yeah. Yeah, no.
And, I will... there are definitely people who don't like this movie as much as maybe we do or other people do.
Are we talking about No Way Home?
No Way Home, yeah.
Okay.
And I get that, but... I haven't met anyone, and I'm sure they're out there because tons of people have different opinions. I haven't met anyone our age or around our age who has had the experiences with all three versions of Spider-Man, who saw that movie and didn't really felt like emotionally moved and really enjoyed the shit out of it.
Yeah, well, I think people our age, I feel like it's built for us, like particularly our age range, because like my nephews who are 6 and 7 love Spider-Man, but they haven't seen the Tobey Maguire ones. They haven't seen the Andrew Garfield one. So like you don't get the same experience because like all the fucking references, and he's like, yeah, I had a wet block, or like whatever, and then like I love the line where they're like, yeah, man, Dr. Connors, he was so cool until he fell into a vat of eels. He's like, Toby's just like, yeah, I'll do it. I started losing it, dude. I looked over to Nick, and we were crying, dude. It was so fucking good, man. And I really like that they brought out, because like Toby's funny in his films, but they really brought out the funny in him, and he's hilarious in No Way Home.
Well, yeah, because he has a very distinct brand of sort of that dry humor. And
you look like a youth pastor, cool youth pastor. It's just
it was just having that ability and that awareness to make the movie and make those jokes and be referential.
Yeah.
Because we're all watching it. We know we're watching it.
Yeah.
We know what the purpose is. We know how ridiculous it is that this exists.
Yeah, I know.
That we have this crazy multiverse.
Peter 1, Peter 2, Peter 3.
But that, we're all there. We get it. We get it. And we want to be, we want our getting it-ness to be recognized. And it is.
Yeah.
And it's just like, you're watching, you're like, you feel in tune with everything.
Yeah, no.
You feel respected.
It felt great. That's why, I was like, I gotta go see this movie again. So I fucking saw it twice in a week, in a 6-day period. I went and saw it twice. I was just so pumped about it. Man, I mean, we were talking about just like Scorpion and who's gonna be villains later on. This is my fucking daydream, but man, I want Prowler back. And I want Donald Glover because he's Prowler in the first movie. Yeah. I'm like, fuck, man. I would love just Tom Holland acting with Donald Glover. That would be fucking awesome.
Well, I think I would absolutely love that too. The only reason I wouldn't necessarily want it is because I think Into the Spider-Verse did it very, very well. Just the
it's his uncle
Miles relationship and the Prowler relationship. I just don't necessarily want to have any writer or director be forced to rehash something that was done very well. But yes, it would be very cool to have, because even just that one moment with the two of them where he's like,
I got ice cream in here. Like, dude, Donald Glover. I mean, have you seen Atlanta, by the way?
I've actually never seen Atlanta.
Oh, okay. Here's another fucker. Dude, you got to see Atlanta. It's so good. It only gets weirder, but it's so well written. It's such a good show. And one of the episodes is like an hour long, and on FX when they played it, Donald Glover requested that they wouldn't play any commercials during it. Because he was like, I don't want to kill the tension, because it's like a weird horror episode. And it's incredible. Yeah. It's so good, dude. Yeah.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, no, I highly suggest you check out Atlanta. Got hilarious, dramatic. It's so everything. I can't even. It's so good, dude.
I remember when it came out, when it debuted. I've got a lot of respect for Donald Glover for sure. I think a favorite wrestler of mine, favorite wrestling personality of mine, I had a very short cameo when he quit WWE, and I remember that coming up, but I'll definitely have to check it out. I look forward to it. Thank you. I mean, dude, fucking recommendation machine. Thank you.
Oh, I mean, if you got anything, man, I'm trying to watch more shit. Just fire away. It doesn't matter.
What's, I do want to shout this out, because this is something that I never saw really get its due. I don't know. Did you ever read A Series of Unfortunate Events when we were kids?
Oh, I read the first 3 books, man. Slippery Slope.
Oh my god, yeah.
Slippery Slope, the one. Yeah, I read like the first 4 books. I like those books a lot. And then I saw the Jim Carrey movie, and that was all right. It was kind of weird.
The Netflix made a show
Really?
that
I did not
actually
know that.
adapted the entire series over 3 seasons. It's 2 episodes per book, about an hour and a half. So pretty much a solid movie for every book.
Hell yeah.
Neil Patrick Harris is
I do.
Count Olaf, sort of Jim Carrey's role, and
I do like NPH.
It's a weird ass show. Because the books are really fucking weird. It's very good. I think it's one of the best adaptations of any sort of like definite fictional work ever done. I really can't say enough about it. It's sort of a weird recommendation. Doesn't really have much to do with what we've been talking about, but it's sick.
It doesn't matter. Like I said, man, go anywhere you want with it. Like I really liked a series of unfortunate events. Unfortunately, the event that occurred was I didn't continue reading them. I think I read the first 3 or 4 books. And you know what I also liked in middle school was Percy Jackson.
Dude, my god.
The first 3 books, I was obsessed with those.
To those books.
Yeah, I still have them.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was cleaning the attic. I found them all and I was like, oh, fuck. The Percy Jackson books.
Well, that's funny you bring it up because that was actually what I got my sister for Christmas. She loves rereading books from our childhood. And we had the whole series. We actually had them all in like the sort of first like printing version, and they all looked exactly the same, like the same like style of the covers.
Yeah.
And God knows what happened. God knows why. Maybe there's somewhere we didn't even look, but we have the first one and we have the last one, which is like the 5th one, and we just don't have 2, 3, and 4.
Wow.
Bizarre. So I got them for her for this past Christmas as part of my gift. Is like, finally we can. Unfortunately, I did not get the beautiful matching books, which I'm always a stickler about. I had to go on a fucking hunt to make sure all my Lord of the Rings books look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, that 6 series got me so invested in Greek mythology as a kid. I was like borderline obsessive. Great series, man. And I think Disney's doing a Disney Plus series with the books. Hopefully better than the terrible movies that they made.
Well, I remember way earlier in this podcast you were talking. I started thinking about Percy Jackson because you said about like, I don't know, like about directors like having a different vision from what you were like thinking of. And I remember watching the original, like when they adapted Percy Jackson. I was like, fucking, what was the guy's name? Tyson? Or who's the...
Yeah, Tyson, yeah.
Did he have the eye? He was like the Cyclops?
Yeah, yep.
I remember I was like, he doesn't look like that.
Yeah.
And like, I just remember watching that and not liking it. So it's funny that you say you didn't like that. You got 5 minutes?
Yeah. Just trying to do that a little more subtly, Yak, but yeah.
Yeah, it's all good.
But yeah, just, no, I think, I mean, that was in such a very specific period of sort of cinematic history, which I think was very funny. That like it was like the mid to late 2000s.
Yeah.
Right. And that was in like the real throes of very, very successful young adult fiction. Mm-hmm. But it was also in this sort of era of studios thinking that they could kind of do whatever they wanted so long as they were taking sort of the essence of the idea. And I like to compare that to G.I. Joe because I'm also, in addition to all the crazy shit I love that I've been talking about, I am like obsessively in love with G.I. Joe. Specifically like a real American hero, like the Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow and all that crazy shit. That like the same time where they made that really awful G.I. Joe movie with Channing Tatum. Where
Yes.
There was no like real G.I. Joe adaptation happening. It was just like, okay, we're taking this sort of essence of the idea and we're including a few of the characters, but we're not really doing anything. We're just like taking faithful.
You're just taking like the framework and just doing completely different shit with it.
Yeah, it's like they wanted to make a movie. Like they had a script for this sort of unbranded movie and they were like, okay, how do we appeal to a wider audience? Let's just sort of
G.I. Joe, people know that name.
Slap a coat of paint over it. definitely not something they did with the Percy Jackson movie because, that was a specific narrative and I doubt.
But like I get what you're saying is that like they're just it's unfaithful. They're not as, the Legos fucking analogy, man. Like they don't have that same kind of motivation. They're not a fan. They just want to use an IP to promote something so they can make money off of it.
Yeah, and it
sucks.
It's funny because it's like people are like willfully not ignorant, but like they really intentionally don't want to do it for really like inexplicable reasons. Like you can just make a faithful movie. It's not gonna like cost you more money.
Well, people are lazy. They don't give a shit.
You just like they really were like, no, I have this very specific, very different.
Like, all right, well, we got to get Channing Tatum because people know Channing Tatum. G.I. Joe, people know that name. They're just trying to hedge the bets, man.
Yeah. It's fascinating to me, and thankfully we are now firmly in an era where most studios understand that you need to, if you're gonna tell a story, like tell the fucking story. Don't
take
have
me
to
out to dinner. Yeah. First, it's like
if you're gonna make a good Batman movie, you gotta make a good Batman movie. Don't like all the Marvel movies are very successful because they're very faithful. These comics didn't exist for nothing. Yeah, like they're good stories.
People give a shit about them for a reason.
Yeah, good, interesting characters. They have cool costumes. Okay, maybe we can't adapt Hawkeye's costume because it is pretty fucking ridiculous. But tell the story like people liked it the first time.
Yeah, exactly. You just figure it out. And if people actually care, then it'll work out, man. It happens with video games, happens with fucking movies, happens with comics, it happens with everything. TV shows, it doesn't matter. That's always when passion is like the thing that drives a product, it always comes out infinitely better than anything else that, you could have the stars aligned of like fucking mad money being put to something. I mean, the what was that movie? The Justice League movie. Yeah. Most money put to a movie ever, and people did not like that movie. It doesn't matter.
That's a whole other discussion we can have.
Yeah, we'll do another podcast. I can already feel it. We've already had a great amount of discussion here. I don't want to hold you. Do you want to say anything else before we finish up? Do you have any final thoughts?
One, this was a really awesome discussion. Hopefully it was digestible for anyone who ever dares listen to it. I think what you just said was probably the theme, the sum of everything we've talked about, sort of perfectly wrapped up. The most important thing in the world to me is passion. I have a lot of passion for pretty much everything I'm involved in, whether it's something I do or something I, enjoy, like, it's not something I'm interested in. And I'm very passionate about writing. I'm very passionate about a bunch of different pop culture shit with a wide range as we've discussed. And I think if you're going to be creative in any facet, you have to be passionate about the creative function that you're doing, writing, drawing, painting, creating video games, creating music. You have to be passionate about the medium. You have to be very, very passionate about the message, the story that you're telling. You can fake liking something. People fake liking things all the time, whether it's, a song your girlfriend plays you or, which if she ever hears this, she'll kick my ass for.
It's a good thing it's at the end.
Yeah. A book that your aunt recommends you. You can't fake the passion for creating something because everyone will know. Yeah. Everyone will know. There's something, and it's the ultimate X factor that comes from putting your heart into a story, putting your heart into something you're trying to convey. And I think, like I said, I think thank you for bringing it up because that's I think my underlying theme of most things I do and the underlying theme of this discussion. So yeah, thank you so much. I hope to be back. I hope that this is, down the line, people come back and can't believe that we, one, that we were friends growing up, and two, that sat down and
when
had this
I'm
conversation.
flying my Tony Stark jet and you've owned Amazon Netflix.
Yeah.
they'll be like, what?
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I real quickly wanted to say what you just said off of that though is that it shows with everything you said, and after reading your script, it really shows that you're passionate about. Like you don't even have to say what you just said. Not that you shouldn't, but it just shows in your actions, man.
Yeah.
And
I appreciate that.
Go play with some Legos, people. Go. I'm gonna build an X-wing right now, man. Peace.
Cannot recommend Legos enough. Thank you.
Yeah, it was fun.